In this video, you will learn how to use Google Drawing. First, you're going to want to open up your Google Drive, select New, and then go to More and open up Google Drawings. Once you're in Google Drawing, you'll see something that looks like this. This is your canvas or where you create your art. You can change the name of your artwork. So for this one, I'm just going to put artwork number 1. The next thing you'll want to do is go to File and change the page setup. You want to have the artwork page, the canvas page, the exact size you're planning on using before you start the artwork. If you try to change it afterward, it will distort your image. For this one, I'm going to be using a paper size, so 8.5 by 11 inches. Select Apply. All right, so now we have our canvas board, but let's say we don't want it to be transparent. That's what the gray and white checkers mean. We want it to be a color, so you right-click, go to Background, and select a color. I'm going to choose a neutral gray. The next thing you can do with Google Drawing is you can create word art. With word art, it creates words that are actually shapes, so you can change them. And this would be good for like the most wanted poster. So you put your letters in there, you can change the outline, the color, you can change the font, you can go to more fonts. Google has a lot of different fonts available, and you can change the font from there. Whenever you're resizing a word, always pull from the corner or press Control Shift, which will keep the proportions intact so you're not distorting your fonts. Okay, so what if we want to create an image using Google Drive or Google Drawing? The first thing I'm going to recommend that you do is find a reference image by searching the web. I'm going to search for a reference image. I'm going to do a simple drawing using Google Drawings, and we're going to look for an apple. So I'm going to choose this one. It's a good practice. Insert it, and it'll pop up in your screen. Now I'm going to move it off of my artboard, and I want to use this picture to literally trace from. So there's a lot of tools in Google Drawing. There are line tools. You can see the different options there. There are shape tools. Okay. But for this project, we're going to be using the Polyline tool. And this Polyline tool is a really good tool that allows you to click and trace shapes. Now I need to zoom in a little bit on my photograph so that I can really see what I'm working with. Move it over so that I can get to the image. Okay, here we go. So I'm using the Polyline tool to outline the shapes. The first thing you want to do is you want to outline just the outside. So I go little by little because the Polyline tool creates straight lines. It does not create curves. So you can go around the edges of an object by going, doing little short line and then click, click, line, click. And you can see every time I click, there's a circle that comes up. So I'm tracing around the outside edge of my apple just to get a good base, a good background. I'm not even going to worry about the stem at this point. I'm really just trying to trace the image of the apple to get a good base. Now, once I connect the lines, I can change the color. It turns into a shape. I can change the color of the outline and also the color of the shape. And I'm going to move this off and over onto my artboard. Now, to create an interesting image with Google Drawing, you're going to want to start tracing different colors that you see or different values that you see. So right now I'm tracing just a general, not being too specific about it, just this general yellowish orange shape. And for this technique, what you're trying to do is you're almost trying to trace each shape of color that you see. You're not focusing on lines, just the shapes. Now, this is not the color I want. I want it to be closer to the color that was below it. And I don't see it available, so I'm going to go to Custom. Now, in Custom, you can work with the transparency, which is really cool because you can do different layering effects. And then I'm going to change the color there. And okay, that's kind of similar to what I'm looking for, but I can always change it in the end. Now I'm going to use that shape and I'm going to move it over to where it belongs inside of the original silhouette that I did. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the film a little bit now, And you can see I'll be tracing shapes as I go along. I'll be changing the colors. You can also double click on the shape to really fine tune it. You'll want to definitely get closer to the image that you're drawing using the zoom feature. And I'll put some shortcut keys in the assignments instructions. I'm tracing the highlight. So you're really looking for the areas where the apple changes colors. Not worrying too much about making it perfect, just trying to copy the basic shapes that are there and layering. And remember, if you right click, you can bring shapes forward or backward. If you trace something and you want it to go behind, right click or alt click if you're on a Chromebook, and you'll be able to change the order. You can use the shape tool if you have like these little dots are shapes that I want to repeat over and over again. So I'm copying and pasting them and changing them each time. In order to get them all over there, I select them all, and then I can group them and bring them over to the apple. Okay, so what have we just learned? Zoom. Zoom is a really important function. You can get to the zoom through the view menu, or you can press Control Alt plus will get you a little closer, or Control Alt minus will get you to move farther away. So, and remember, use the polyline tool, trace every detail. The more details you put in, the more interesting your drawing will be. The polyline tool creates lines, so you have to do small lines to form curves. Here I'm tracing the shadow. Change the color of the line, make it transparent. Change the color of the shape. Remember, we're tracing shapes, not lines. And then bring your shape over to the apple. Zoom out so that you can see what you're doing. And then we're going to zoom in so that we can see what we need to do. I'm going to change the color of this though so it stands out from the background. Okay, so we're going to zoom in so that we can see what we're working on. Make sure you move yourself back over. All right, and you can see the shadow is on top of the apple. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to need to change the order. So remember, to change the order, you can right click or you can press Control and the down arrow will send the shape back one layer. Control down, and you may have to send it back multiple layers because all those shapes are layers onto themselves. So down, down, oh, there it goes behind. And then you would press Control plus up if you wanted to bring it forward. If you double click on a shape, you can get a bunch of little tiny points everywhere you created those lines, and you can start to move those points around if you want to change the shape that you created. You can modify it a little bit. If you're trying to move a bunch of shapes at the same time, but you don't want to change the way that they're put together, you can select them all by pressing Shift and then clicking through each shape. And you'll see the bounding box changes every time I add a shape. Now I'm going to select all these shapes I just created, including the stem. And now what if I want to move them all at the same time? I can press right click or alt click, select group. And now I can move those shapes independently, but I want to move them back. So I press Control Z. It's your best friend to go undo. I need to change the, I can also press right click and select ungroup if I want to be able to move them on their own again. So there you have it. Really look at the details, try your own practice drawing where you find a photo and you create an image using Google Drawing by tracing the shapes of the colors. Good luck.